I'm very much a dad like that. I feel like making the same joke every week. Some variation of it, you know.
Are we doing Zoom today?
Oh, good point. Good point. I'm completely out. You know, it's the night after Yantif. You're not feeling it? I don't even know what day it is, you know? It's a disorienting day.
Monday, right?
It's something, you know. It woke up feeling like Sunday. I don't know. I don't even know what day it is. I don't know what's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Thursday. It's almost Shabbos, basically.
Again. We had in Shul a very, very inspiring Yantif, Baruch Hashem, and a very emotional Yantif. Shavuos could be a very emotional Yantif. I want to just mention one thought. Today's, as the day was, and as this tkuf is, today's not going to be a long narrative share. It's going to be an eclectic share. Some people like that better, and some people don't. But this is what I have for today on this Isru Chag fading away moment. I really just 3 thoughts, one of them from Yantif and 2 of them from today. You know, I suggest everyone to look at this. The Aguda recently made available a massive amount of archives. You know that? But when I say archives, I mean videos of Gedolei Yisrael from the 80s and on, speaking about Aguda conventions and Aguda dinners. Rebbe Yisvei, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky with a black beard, Rav Mordechai Gifter, Rav Chaim Levine, like the Gedolim that when we were kids we heard those names. When I was a kid I heard those names. And you could just watch them speak in Yiddish. And today, I guess being a little disoriented, and I gave as I'll talk about soon, I spoke today for the Durham boys, and when I came back, I was very emotionally wrung out, as I always am when I finish that particular speech. And that mode when it's just I don't have energy to do anything. I don't even have the energy to distract myself. So I thought it's a good time. Let me check the archives. That's an interesting thing. And I made the mistake of watching some videos of interviews with survivors. Don't do that when you're trying to relax. Okay? And so I cried through the whole thing. I came home emotionally raw, and then I cried for a half hour. But there was something super, super, super inspiring about it, juxtaposed to Shavuos. I just wanted to share an emotion, and then I'll get back and talk about the share. And that is that Klal Yisrael has gone through insane challenges. It's you cannot wrap your head around the levels of challenges that Klal Yisrael has gone through. Enough decades have passed. Everyone could be dated by this, but when I was little, they talked about the war that happened 40 years ago. That's what they talked about when I was little. Okay? The war was over 45. Mm-hmm. I was born in 73. So around 1980 was 40 years when I started yeshiva. So they would say 40 years ago, Klal Yisrael had a big churban. Some of you heard 40, some of you might have heard 30. Some of you heard 50, 60. Now we're up to 80. And the world really, really could forget that we went through levels of challenges that are just breathtaking. And you know what made me cry the most? Not hearing about the concentration camps, not watching survivors cry as they told their story. What brought tears to my eyes, tears of pride, were hearing how this nation of ours, this crazy nation of ours, we were in displaced persons camps. Some of our grandparents were there. And they just Their entire life turned upside down. Their entire families were destroyed. They're like, everything was gone. What did they do with the displaced persons camps? They made Beis Yaakovs and Beis Medrashes and kosher kitchens. Like, it boggles the mind, the level of strength that our nation has. And that was the challenge of then. It gave me a certain kind of chizuk after Shavuos, that we were makabel the Torah again on Shavuos, and our generation has our challenges. Maybe we're not physically in as much danger, maybe we're certainly not physically in as much danger as that generation went through, but we have our challenges. From the broad challenges of anti-Semitism and so on to the ideological, a war on our values, to the chinuch of our children, to the fact that we've become very emotionally sensitive and raw, and it's affected us in ways that the generations before us weren't able to fully grasp. Kol minei nisyonos lemineim, all different kinds of tests. And we get overwhelmed sometimes from the magnitude of the tests that are facing Klal Yisrael. And watching some of these videos, and maybe that's the intention of these videos, it just made me feel like we are very, very strong. We are very powerful. We have kaiches. We can do this. We can carry the tests that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us and try to do it with sensitivity and with love and with thoughtfulness and with dedication and devotion. We are capable of handling the nisyanos Hashem has given us, and we shouldn't allow ourselves to get drowned in a sea of overwhelm. When you watch these gedolim get up, it's especially interesting to watch the young Talmidei Chachamim getting up in a world that, like, in a practical sense, they barely understood. The world was changing, the 80s, the 90s, the turn of the century. The world is changing. A ragtag group of European survivors suddenly transforms in a very short time into a massive community. They were overwhelmed too. We look back, the hindsight is like, with confidence and they had no idea what was going to be. Like we have no idea what's going to be. But they did the job day by day. And I think that we could get confidence from the generations that preceded us. It's been 3,300 some odd years. We're good. We know what we're doing. We have strength. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of us. Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker. We're here for the last 3,300 some odd years, and we will be here for the long run. And we have the capacity and the capability and the courage and the wisdom and the sensitivity to be able to bring our world into the next generation. And I think it's a time for chizuk. We're heading into the summer, and a lot of our institutionalized life ends in the summer. School is out. Some of our jobs are out. It's a little bit freer and more open, and I think Shavuos is a good reminder to us that we're part of something that's so much bigger than ourselves, and that we have the ability to make our mark and to pass the tests that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us. So I wrote a few notes to myself earlier today about what I would want to talk about in a woman's share right after Shavuos. And then I got a call from Rabbi Kalish. I was a little bit expecting the call because it's become a little bit of a tradition that every Isru Chag Shavuos it pops into Rabbi Kalish's head that he wants me to speak to the boys in Durham. At least that's the way it comes across to me. To the point that last night it was a very wonderful yontif. It was also a very exhausting yontif, so my mind was a little numb. And I went to sleep not thinking I was going to be meeting Rabbi Kalish today. And then I woke up, and before I went to yeshiva, I sat down by my computer and I worked out my entire schedule, filling every minute of the day. And then I got to yeshiva and I saw a missed call, Rabbi Daniel Kalish. Oh, okay, forget that schedule. And he asked me, please, he knows it's last, we do this every year. Please, he knows it's last minute. Would I have time? Do I happen to be in Waterbury now? No, I'm not in Waterbury. Would I be able to speak to the boys? Anyway, we schmoozed for a few minutes and we made up that we're gonna meet here at 4. And I asked him if he wanted to do a Q&A like we did in previous years, and he said no. It's time to do something different. I'm thinking, what am I going to speak about? And the reason I'm mentioning it to you is not to say over what I spoke about. It's to say over what I discovered about myself. Because when I talk to these guys, you cannot show up to speak to Rabbi Kalish's Talmidim with a prepared speech and think that you're going to say that speech and then go home and call it a day. No. At least for me. When you sit down with these boys, these are boys that are being mechunech in honesty, in vulnerability, in knowing themselves, in speaking truth to power, in saying things the way it is. That is what these boys are learning. So when I come, I have to be mechazik myself, and I'm very tired now. I have to be mechazik myself to be prepared, to be honest. Speakers don't like that, okay? And it's a little bit hard also because now, as I explained to the boys in the beginning, nowadays, I don't know the boys there that well. I used to know them because I used to go to Isaac, if you recall. But now, Hashem had other plans for me, and I'm not going there. So I'm speaking to boys that the spirit of these boys I know. But the individual boys, some of them I know, so, I've met before, some of them I've never met. And I picked a topic to speak about because a Yid that I know that calls me from time to time, for Chizah, called me, Chassidish Yid, a very special person, and he was asking me about friendship. Like, how do you have friends? How do you do friendship, We don't have anyone to make play dates for us, How do we do friendship? So therefore I had been thinking through the sugya of friendship, and I thought that it would be a valuable thing to talk to the boys about who struggle with loneliness and have been through things and certainly could use good friendships. And it started off a little dry and mechanical, and I think some of the boys that didn't know me were a little perhaps suspicious of me, and it took a while of staying, pedal to the metal, staying with it, for them to realize that no, I'm ready to have a real conversation. And in the process, I was very, very honest with them. I don't play guys. There's no point. There's no point. This is not a world where, let's put it this way. I came home with Yax. He tells my wife, Tati had free therapy today. Okay? So I discovered 2 things. One of them is more personal for me, but still worth discussing because I'm sure I'm not the only one. And one of them is a little bit more broad. And I thought that could be a good share, to share those discoveries. It's good chazara for me anyway. Then I get 2 therapy sessions. Okay? But I was talking about friendship, and I wanted to discuss about 3 pillars of friendship. Because my yesod was that you can't get friends. You can only be a friend. If you are a friend, you'll get friends. But you can't work on getting other people to like you. I know Dale Carnegie wrote a book about how to win friends, how to
win friends and influence people.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of that book. Okay? I'm not into techniques in relationships. I want to clarify. I think there are a lot of techniques, but they don't substitute authenticity. Like, if you don't like someone, you can't be like, I don't know why the person doesn't like me. I did all the tricks to make him like me. It's not going to work. So, I think the way to make friends is to be a good friend, no? And that's what I was talking about. And I came up over the day with 3 yesodos that I wanted to talk about. Number 1 is being curious about other people. Because if you're so wrapped up in your own life that you're just not curious about the other person, I don't think that you'll make friends. People sense if you're interested in their life. And the second one was that curiosity should be completely non-judgmental. It's not my job to judge my friends. And if I think it's my job to judge my friends, I won't have any. And number 3, to be loyal. 3 nice yesodis. If I was speaking anywhere else, that would have gone flawlessly. I'm not mischared at all. I knew what I was getting myself into. Rabbi Kalish and I sat down. We knew we were going to get into a sugya. So I got through the first thing about curiosity. Okay, it was still like guys playing around a little, whatever. Then I got to the second thing. Not being judgmental. And I was saying that I think you have to listen to what your friends have to say and don't judge. And they pushed back on that. Their real pushback, after push comes to shove, some of it was that they didn't understand. It took a while for them to fully understand what I was saying. Like, they thought I meant not to judge if someone does something bad. They were like, oh, you just judged it. You said it's bad. Like, no, I'm talking about not judging the person. Someone breaks someone's window, that's bad. But the question is, what's bad, the action or the person? I'm talking about not judging the person. Right? These things are clear to us, but it was a sugya to go through. It was interesting. One boy, very sweet boy, was saying to me, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you judge. You have to judge. Everyone judges. Of course you judge when someone tells you something. Of course. Really? What do you mean? He's like, you have a beard. I notice you have a beard. You have a beard. See, I judged you. I said, no, you would judge me if you said you don't like my beard. But he didn't know what I was saying. So I said, let me give you an example. Right now, you don't understand what I'm saying. You're missing a point that I'm trying to make. Judging you would be like, this guy doesn't get it. That would be judging you. Not judging you would be like, I'm making a point and he doesn't understand. How could I say it so that he can understand? You see what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
But I kept getting pushback. The pushback was not that they thought it's good to be judgmental. The pushback was that I claimed that I'm not judgmental. And they didn't believe me. And they started to everyone's judgmental. You could try after the judgment to then be down the kafschos. You could try to do that, but everyone's judgmental. What are your thoughts?
Were you trying to say that you're not?
I'm not. It happens to be I'm not.
You're not what?
I'm not judgmental. I'm not. It happens to be. I'm not saying I never have a judgment.
I'm very judgmental.
I'm not talking to you anymore.
No.
I agree with the points. We're all judgmental.
I agree with you. I'm not.
Speak for yourself.
Hashem created in the Bria that we're judgmental. How could it be that we're not?
Oh, now I feel like I'm back upstairs.
I wasn't during Shavuos, by the way. So
I know, I heard.
Rubbed you up on me.
And I want to tell you something. I saw Yehuda upstairs. I was like, oh, Yehuda's here. And I was talking about the generations of the yeshiva. Then I see Yehuda Gaddis, and I'm like, generations of the yeshiva. My goodness, And then he said that he was in... Rabbi Kalish told me he was by us for Yantif. I was like, and this is 100% true, that by Lenila Sachag, I was thinking to myself, I wonder where Yehuda is. I wasn't have a taina, I forgot about it.
You weren't judging.
No, I wasn't judging.
Is he an Avalon? I can't believe he's an Avalon.
I can't believe
I'm going to talk to...
But it happens to be, I could be judgmental, but I also could be not judgmental, like mitchila. And this is the thing, and part of my job is that sometimes I speak to people that have done incredibly horrific things. And for some reason, I just feel love and appreciation for them. I'm realizing how crazy that is. I'm telling you, this is my process. I sat down and I'm explaining about not being judgmental. And the guys were like, sorry. And there was pushback in the room.
They didn't think you were being honest?
I think they didn't think I was being honest. Not only much worse than that, an avla that's much worse in Durham. It wasn't that they didn't think I was being honest. They didn't think I was being honest with myself, which is much worse. And I started to think to myself, because I was there with them, I was present. And I was trying to work through the sugya with them. Like, I didn't realize there was this disconnect. And I thought a group of boys that are from the most misjudged boys in the world would understand that we should be not judgmental. And they didn't believe me that there's such a thing, like someone over there didn't believe me that there's such a thing as seeing someone do something bad. I'd be like, not judging. But I really do live that way. And we started to get stuck. There was like, the room started buzzing. Rabbi Kalish looked like he didn't know what to do with himself. Okay, that's rare, but, and like, I started to think to myself, am I fooling myself? I don't know, I get these phone calls from people that have done really, 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 really nasty things, and I keep in touch with them, but I love them. And it's not my thing. I'm not sitting here to boast. I'm almost like questioning myself. Where does this come from?
I probably judge myself harsher than I judge other people.
Yeah, you don't judge people.
I'm saying it myself.
What?
Myself, I judge.
I think it's almost impossible not to judge people. It's impossible. What does it look like not to judge people? My kids always tell me that they feel judged. And I always tell them we all judge. The same way that you feel judged, you judge others. They may not.
Let's say a friend is telling you something vulnerable, right? They're telling you something vulnerable, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, you must think I'm crazy. And the thought never came to my mind. I was just
right.
That's a friend.
I've had strangers walk into my office and tell me such horrific things that they did that I cannot say it in a share. Okay? And they would be like, you probably never want to look at me again. And I'm like, no, I want to hug you. And I'm honest. Where does that come from? I didn't realize I'm being 100% honest. This is not a share where I'm sitting here to put you down or put me up. Trust me. It's like,
He's not judging you.
I'm not judging you.
I feel like it's impossible to judge, but okay.
I'm trying to understand why, among all the terrible midas that I have, why it is that I don't have a hard time not being judgmental. I just don't have a hard time. We just did discuss, there are situations where I do have a hard time. You know when I have a hard time not being judgmental? And I told this to the boys. I didn't hide anything up there. There's no point. Okay? I told them, I have a hard time not being judgmental when I am the recipient of the attack. When I'm being attacked, I become defensive and judgmental. Because my self-esteem is still growing and I'm still very vulnerable. And if somebody attacks me, or if I find out that someone was talking about me or someone said something bad about me, I'm unhealthily defensive. So then I'll judge. But if someone just tells me, you know what I did? I was once walking in the parking lot here. A guy told me, a frum guy who works for another frum guy, told me that he stole $5,000 from his boss. I didn't judge him. I didn't work on myself not to judge him. It didn't occur to me to judge him. I don't think he did the right thing, and I tried to help him to make amends, which he did, but I didn't judge him. Weird, no?
What does it mean to judge him? Like if you would have...
I didn't think any differently of him. I did not think any differently of him.
There's a judgment.
Is it?
There's always a judgment going on.
I didn't realize. I did not realize.
I think what Khani's saying is that, tell me if I'm wrong, there's always judgment. Is this right or wrong? Socially.
Right, that I'm not talking about. I definitely was very clear to myself that it was wrong. And even if he would justify it and tell me that it's right, I think it's wrong. Loy siknoif. I think it is wrong to steal. When I say I'm not judgmental, I don't mean that I'm like, look, some people have to steal. No, I think it is absolutely wrong. I'm still ready to give the guy shlishi.
So what makes
Not just Ravi, shlishi I'm ready to give the guy.
The difference is that you can be judgmental, but also give the person the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
So with that situation, I mean, yes, he was wrong, but you knew that you didn't know the whole story. And it still was wrong for him to steal, but you gave him the benefit of the doubt and just listened to what he had to say and tried to help him figure out on his own
there
what to do.
is no justification for what he did that could say that it wasn't wrong.
Right.
It's just a question of judging the person.
So do you ever think of some people like in higher regard than others?
Yeah.
So what causes that then?
When I'm very impressed with someone. The other way.
That's
being
judgment call.
judgment.
What?
That's judging too.
Yeah, but he feels about everyone.
I feel like Hashem
Yeah.
put the bria to judge, and the midah of being able of judging allows for the good and for the bad. So let's say you're thinking about a shidduch, right? You're a shotgun. You need to be able to judge the parties, figure people out. That's
now you're making that other mistake. We came up with labels today. That's assessment. You can make an assessment. It's not judging.
So maybe I understand what it means to judge.
Do you understand? Judging is, I don't know if that's such a good person. He's not such a good person. I think he's a good person. Judging is that I think lower of him. I'm a little disgusted from him. I'm a little turned off. That's judging. I don't love him as much. I heard what he did and I don't love him as much. Now I do have this issue if someone does something to me. I do have this issue. And I'm not, I feel like I feel very uncomfortable. But what could I do? This is what I went through today. I feel very uncomfortable. I came to a certain realization in front of 150 guys about why I might be this way. And it's interesting. I feel like I discovered a superpower. Like, so cool. It's really true. I don't judge people. What?
Should I make you a cake?
Yeah, please. With the S.
Wait. Magen David.
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
Do not play with AI on that one, okay?
No. I wouldn't even know how to use AI.
Okay. It's interesting, no? Isn't that interesting? It's fascinating. But it's really, really true. So I came to this realization that I think that a lot of it has to do with my sense of myself. In other words, I've been through a lot in my life. My younger years, I went through much more than I realized at the time, which I wonder how many people have that. A lot of people that say they went through different traumas and things, they're like, yeah, they knew they were being beaten up or hurt or whatever. I got married thinking that my life was 100% normal, not just normal, much better than normal. And it was only later on looking back that I was able to acknowledge and understand the depth of the pain that I had been through in my life. And it has had a very, very, very monumental effect on me. And I've had to struggle with things. Midos, behaviors, bad habits, things that got in the way of my avodas Hashem and my relationships. And if I'm going to look at myself judgmentally, I can't look myself in the mirror. Especially because of the roles that I have, especially because I'm in a teaching role. And I'm in a role of taking care of other people and so on, which was not my plan, as many of you know. Hashem put me here. It was not my plan. I was supposed to be in computers. Okay? That was my plan. Okay? But for some reason, and some of you know the story, for some reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu put me here, and I feel like, and this is very interesting in terms of judging, I feel like I've needed to reconcile my inside with my outside, to live with myself. And part of reconciling my inside with my outside is telling myself, Yassi, you've been through a lot. You have a lot of challenges. And you're working very hard. And you're trying. And you want to do the right thing. And it's been a journey. And you, Baruch Hashem, made progress. You'll continue to make progress. And those kinds of messages, if I can't live with those messages, I can't live with myself. Forget about other people. And I think because of that, I think somehow in my mind, this is the best hypothesis that I could come up with, that in my mind, I extrapolated to everyone else's life. And even though there are people who tell me that they did things that I would never dream of doing, but I have my things that I'm not proud of. And I don't want to be judged. I want the powers that be, the Rabbi Shalom, the world, to understand that I'm a really honestly struggling person trying to grow. So what am I going to now sit with someone and they're going to tell me about their struggle and I'm going to judge? In fact, if someone would come to my office, you want to know what would make me judge? Someone would come to my office and say, I do this and this and this and this bad thing. And I love doing bad things. And I intend to continue doing bad things. I would judge that person. I'm not saying that I should, I'm just telling you a fact. I would judge that person. Maybe, Mrs. Goddess, maybe this is the nakuda, maybe because of my job, I always speak to people who are not happy with those parts of themselves. This guy told me that he stole money. Why did he tell that to me? Because it was eating him up inside. Maybe that helps. Maybe I'm speaking to people that don't want this to be the situation. But I don't think it's just that, because when I speak to the relatives of people who have done things, my assumption is that people don't want to be bad people. That's my assumption. You don't think it's a fair assumption? I think people want to do the right thing. I think people want to be good people. I think that's what they want. Now, if someone will tell me I absolutely have no interest in being a good person, I actually want to take advantage of people and hurt them and just move up in the world at the expense of others, I'll have a big nisayon with Leisisna Sachicha Bilvavech. I might hate the guy. But how many people do you meet in your lifetime like that? Most people are like us. Good people that have their own stuff. And we have to just be careful not to tell ourselves, I'm okay, but I'll judge him. I'm okay, but I'll judge her. And that's what I think it is. I think it was my process that got imprinted on what happens when I speak to people. Does this make sense? I think that's the sugya for me. You know, like, I think that when I was younger, it was very easy to judge people because I thought I was perfect. And when you think you're perfect, so then people aren't perfect. Like, what's the matter with you? But now I see I'm so far from perfect that I can't even see the shore anymore. So now it's really a question of, can I be meichel myself? Can I live with myself? Can I trust that I'm a good person because I'm trying to deal with the challenges Hashem has given me? And if I could do that for myself, so then isn't it natural that I would do that to the people I'm talking to? That's what I think it is. That was a big revelation for me. I'm grateful to Rabbi Kalish and to all the boys for pulling that out of me. I didn't make the connection in my mind because I thought it was normal that I wasn't judging people. What are your thoughts?
Should I continue? I feel like, I don't mean when I say judge that you look at someone and you say you hate them. I just mean, let's say, you see like a young parent parenting their child, and let's say they're being very permissive with the child, and you think that's like, doesn't make sense. In your mind, you might be thinking, she's being so permissive with her child, I don't agree with that enough.
Yeah, I don't think that's big judging.
That's not called judging?
No.
That is judging. You're
No.
making a judgment call on
No, that's what it says. Again, no, because I'm not looking down on her because of that. She doesn't know better. She's doing the best she can. I think she's a wonderful, amazing person. I was in a hotel in Eretz Yisrael, alone, and I was eating breakfast. Now, I like to do something while in fact, I brought a sefer to breakfast with me, but in Eretz Yisrael, in a hotel, you can't miss breakfast. That's the meal of the day, right? So I'm sitting there, and there's a couple sitting next to me. And the wife is on her phone talking to her friend or her sister, and her husband's sitting next to her. And this couple went to Eretz Yisrael together. And she's the things that happened in the room, and her husband's sitting there. So I didn't think she's a bad person, but I did say to myself, she's making a mistake.
Right, that's called judging.
No.
We're allowed to do that?
Yeah. Isn't it a mistake?
But I mean, you didn't go over to her and say, you're on vacation with your husband, get off the phone, like, you kept it to yourself.
You sure that I didn't do that?
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
You shouldn't be done kafskas.
Yeah, so sometimes it helps to be down the kafschus, but I don't know, for me it's not a chayv. For me it's like, oh yeah, they don't know. Okay, they don't know. If I see someone violating a halacha, they don't know. They don't know. Some people don't know halacha. I don't consider that I don't think that's an issue of judging. Isn't that a relief? That's not judging. The question is, how do you feel about that person after? Is there disdain? Is there contempt? Is there a sense that you're better? Am I better than that wife because I recognize this? She didn't. Am I better than her? If I'm walking around feeling like she's making a mistake, she should come to the Shalom Bayis guru here. I'm perfect. That's judgmental.
There might be a part of you that's thinking that without realizing that you're thinking that.
It could be. Is there a part of me that's thinking of it that doesn't realize that it's thinking it? It could be. It could be, but it's not my approach. There might be a part of me that's thinking that a part of me is thinking that. I don't know. Maybe when I speak to people and they tell me horrible things that they did, there's a part of me that's thinking that they're horrific people. But I'm just saying that's not my approach. Like, a lot of times people like that will say, you probably never want to see me again, like that kind of thing, and I don't feel that way. Okay, you're right that it goes much deeper. I'm laughing about what you're saying, but I'm not disagreeing with you. Okay? I think we're on the same page. Okay, but I think it was a fascinating conversation, no? And I think it is interesting, and I think it is impactful to recognize that in the people, and I'm glad that Mrs. Gossman understands what judgmental is. No, seriously, maybe you think you're judgmental and you're not.
I mean, I thought that was being judgmental. When you go around looking at people and you're thinking things about the way they're behaving, whether it's something that you're like dwelling on or not dwelling on afterwards, it's still Hashem. I don't think Hashem wants us to look around the people and think negative thoughts.
I'm in shul.
I don't know them.
I'm in shul.
I'm
in shul, and I see a guy, and he tells his son, "You think Hashem wants you to daven like that? You think He's interested in hearing that? That's what you think? Sit straight and look inside and put your finger on the place." You agree with that chinuch? No. What do you think about that chinuch? That it's a mistake?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You think the father's a bad guy?
No.
Maybe
I would have to be done with kaschos in my mind. I would have to tell myself, he was probably raised like that. He probably went through things.
Right. So to me, I mean,
I do it myself.
He needs to break the chain.
To me, those thoughts come automatically. Maybe I just trained myself. I don't know. But to me, it's like, doesn't start. I could sometimes, if I'm watching someone hurt another person, I could get a little bent out of shape. It's a little bit hard to watch. Sometimes I go, okay, you gotta stop. I can't watch this anymore. That is true.
But is it hard for you to get stuck with them, like you and him on a plane? Like, would you, in the beginning, being more hesitant to schmooze, and then like realize there's so much more to him and enjoy? Like, would you in the beginning have
or
your
if you was your
guard
son's
up?
Rebbe, you'd be like,
I'd be worried about my son,
right.
but not because I think he's a bad guy. I'd just be worried about my son.
No one's bad. We all know no one's bad. I don't think that's what it means when we judge people. That we think people are bad people. Is that, I don't know, like.
Yeah, no, it is what I mean.
That's what people.
Yeah, we look down on them. No, Mrs. Feld is asking a very, very, very telling question. Like, would I feel as comfortable sitting with that person afterwards? I would feel like we don't look at the world the same way. You know what I mean? I would feel disconnected from the person. I don't know. It's interesting. Look, I'm putting it out there.
Why isn't anyone else chiming in? Like, am I the only one that struggles with this?
Everyone's judging you.
No, we're assessing.
Assessing.
Now it's a mitzvah.
I'm trying to figure out what I do now. Like,
Right.
now
How
I'm
do I
like,
classify myself?
right, like, do I judge or not?
It is interesting because it brought what this shir did for me is that, first of all, this realization that there's a lot that depends on how I look at myself was very meaningful and emotional for me. But also this whole conversation of what does it mean to judge? What does it mean to judge? This Yontif, there was a guy in shul that got very, 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 very upset about something. And he let it be known that he was very, very upset. He was shaking with anger. Okay? I felt nothing. I felt bad that he was going through tsar. I felt, even though I didn't have the full picture of why, but at the time, I felt nothing. I didn't, there's another person in shul that randomly stopped talking to me. I'm having a hard time not judging him. I'm struggling, I'm trying to say, okay, that I'm having a harder time with because I'm the victim of it. That's a madrega that I'm not at. It's a little bit hard. And it's hard for me not to obsess about it. Which brings me to the next thing. We better get moving here. It's almost time for Ma'ariv. Wow, I thought this was gonna. It always happens. The shiurim that you think are gonna be like this super short shir, that I thought everyone would be like, that's all you have to say. Those are the shiurim that end up being these feisty shiurim. Anyway, but the second thing was very interesting, that we were talking about compliments. Now, the situation of compliments very much came out of this conversation, because we were talking about criticism, so we were talking about compliments. Okay, I have a hard time with criticism, not critiques. I actually don't have such a hard time. Last night my father sat down with me and said, it was great to be here, you spoke amazing of Yantif. I want to just tell you made a mistake in your speeches in a certain technique. I'm happy he felt comfortable to tell that to me. It was actually something that I myself took note of in the back of my head. And, okay, in a way I felt honored, that he was taking the time and, and the courage to sit down and to say, you could do that better. That's fine. It's when people make psukim, Sonnenschein, fill in the blank, he does this, he's that, and in my mind, people's complaints are very magnified and people's compliments are very quiet. In fact, someone wrote me a card recently, because this guy knows me very, very well. And someone's not muted. And someone wrote a card recently, and he wrote to me, when there are times that you doubt if you're making an impact, or if you're helping people, think of this card. Oh my gosh, this guy knows me too well, So that's a thing. That's a struggle. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has that struggle, that hears criticism louder than compliments. There are people who have a hard time taking a compliment. It's even harder. They'll always brush off compliments. It's hard to take compliments. So what's interesting is that I try to work on not caring so much about the criticism. I'm not talking about things that I could do better. I want to hear what I could do better. I do. I'm talking about the politics, the yenting, I don't have to be busy with that stuff. I don't have to be busy with that stuff. I think you all could test me. If you don't know I'm trying as hard as I can, you don't know me. Is that a fair statement? I'm trying. Do I do everything right? Of course not. But I'm trying. So I have to learn how to tune it out a little bit. I had an epiphany, which really I have a letter from Rav Kook like this, but it hit me again, and especially today in this group therapy with 150 guys, that how should I be taking compliments then? If criticism shouldn't, Rav Kook writes somewhere that at a certain point in my life I stopped needing compliments, and at around that time I stopped caring about criticism. Don't the two go together? Because if I need your compliment, then I'm wounded from your criticism. But if I don't need your compliment, I'm not wounded from your criticism, because your opinion is not going to destroy my world. Does that make sense? So does that mean that compliments are not meaningful to me? Someone called me today with the most beautiful compliment on my Nila Sachag Shmuz that Yehuda missed. No, it's fine. We were just joking about it upstairs. So how should I feel about that compliment? So we came up today, is I think a very interesting thing. We came up with a great gather, and I think it's a binageh for everyone. A great differentiation between two reactions of compliments. And I really think this is something you could run with. Because I don't think it's valid to say if you get a compliment, it shouldn't make you feel good. Would you say that? No, of course it should make you feel good. So what's the gather here? very interesting gather. What we came up with together was that a compliment should make me feel good, but it should not validate me. I don't need the validation of a compliment. It feels good to get a compliment. Thank you. That made me feel good. It's meaningful to me to know that I made an impact on your life. Thank you. But if you telling me that is like, oh, so it is worthwhile that I do this, that's giving you too much power. I should be able to have the confidence from inside myself that I'm a good father or mother or friend or sister or brother or Rebbe or whatever it is. And I feel that comfort inside of me. I don't need your compliment to survive. Many of us have relatives that without compliments they won't survive. Like part of our job in taking care of them is that we have to make sure to keep them fully loaded with compliments. It's like almost, it's a job to do that, you know? I'm not talking like between husbands and wives. Maybe it's a little bit different there. I'm talking about like outside of that relationship. But I think it's a very meaningful thing. Do you hear the difference? That's it? Yes? You make it so easy. I think it's a meaningful thing, and I think it's something. Mr. Chef, we're good?
I don't know what you mean by compliments. Like, I don't, like, certain compliments are meaningless to me. Like, when people compliment, like, the food is good, the house is nice, your kid has pretty eyes. Like, I didn't do anything. Like,
right, that's not validating anyway.
That's nothing. Like, it
right.
doesn't, like, why are you even wasting words on
right.
that? Like,
But what if someone says you're such a good mother?
Right, yeah, like those, that's what you mean by
So,
compliments.
right. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, you have such a nice watch. Okay, very nice to tell the person that made the watch. Like, that's not a compliment. It feels good, it's nice.
I don't even think it feels good.
But, okay, I think some people would say it feels good. But I understand what you mean. Logically, there's no reason it should feel good. Some people would say that it's a compliment on their taste, or their husband's taste, or their parents' taste, or whoever got them the watch. Whatever it is. Sometimes when people compliment people's clothing and things like that, they're complimenting the ensemble that they put together. So there could be something to that. But I'm talking about something more meaningful. You're such a good mother. You're such a good friend. You're so kind. Those are real compliments. So I think that those compliments should make a person feel good and should be a chizuk. But if you need them to survive, something's not right. If you question if you're a good mother, and Mrs. Meyerfeld comes over to schmooze with you and says, "You're such a good mother." I wasn't sure if I'm a good mother, but now I know. Something's wrong then. That's my point. My point is that we need to have enough sense of ourselves on the inside that we don't need to be told on the outside, like, really? You ever get that like very dramatic reaction to a compliment? Really? You think so? Okay, I don't know. Maybe I just stepped on something. I don't know. I think so. Yeah, that's why I said it. Like, you don't even know what to do with yourself. That's a bit much. No?
It could also be being sarcastic. Like, yes, I know I do this really well. Really? You think I do it well?
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that.
But,
I'm talking about like tears in my eyes. Really? I think that I'm not saying some people need that, and sometimes it's the right thing to do, and some that we all have times that happens to us. But I think the person that's not going to fall apart from being criticized or talked about is the person to whom compliments are nice. It's nice. You're such a good mother. Nice. You noticed. Nice. Feels good. You'll tell your husband later, Mrs. So-and-so said that I'm a good mother. Oh, cool. Nice. That's all. It's not like, I'm going to write this down. Could we frame this? Could I date? Could you sign an autograph? That you think, if you need that, so that's coming very much from the outside. It's not coming from internally. Those were the chidushim today. Interesting kinds of chidushim. They weren't a new chiddush and a Rambam, but a chiddush and a person is also a very big chiddush. And the reason that I'm sharing it is because I'm assuming, I go out on a limb sometimes and make the assumption that if I have an experience, I may not be the only person with that experience. And time again, when I go out on a limb and talk about myself, I end up getting text messages over the next week of people that sometimes from parts of the world that I didn't even know were listening to the shir, that, yeah, right, me too. Because we're all family. What goes around comes around. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us all clarity and confidence and the kayach to not judge, to assess, but not to judge. Be'ezer Hashem, I'll see you next week. Be'ezer Hashem.
Thank you.
Yashikayach.